All right, Red, what'd you just say about burnouts?
I said if it wasn't for burnouts, there'd be no reason to be here. I wish we could do burnouts without having to be seat belted in. That way I could open the door and watch my own burnouts.
All right, guys, I'm here with Tommy Kundrik. He's the main man at Micky Thompson. Tommy, the question for this Tech Tip Tuesday is, if a guy is just starting with radials, what do they need to do for a burnout procedure that's different from a slick?
You know, everybody's got their own different opinion on how to do a burnout. The way we coach people to do them is roll into the water, roll out, you know, maybe a foot or two outside the box, put the thing in second gear or first gear, depending on what kind of transmission you have. Throw it in high gear, you know, maybe 10-second burnout,
yep.
Roll out, done.
Okay.
Roll up to the line.
Does that change whether the track's hot or cold or any of that type of stuff?
Absolutely. The hotter the track, do less burnout. The colder the track, sit still longer. Like everybody likes to go long.
Yep.
Sitting still will activate the compound of the tire, and actually when it's colder, you gotta think of these things like hockey pucks. The colder they are, the harder they are.
Okay.
So do a little longer burnout sitting still, roll to the line stage car.
Don't roll past the line and back up?
I mean, you know, if the thing's missing rubber, yeah, you can roll over it. You know, I would, you know, do your burnout roll through. I raced radial for a long time. People used to argue that radials pulled up the racetrack. Radials do not pull up the racetrack. If you spin, they pull the racetrack up.
Sure.
But if you roll across, you can lay rubber and then just back up where you laid rubber.
And then just arrive right back through your tracks.
That's it.
That's pretty cool. So that obviously would be a strategy if the track was a little less, was more virgin or whatever, right?
Yeah. Nowadays, you know, like when I used to race radial with, you know, my guys,
yeah,
it was, tracks were less than we have now.
Of course.
The princess prep, as I call it, everybody gets the best, you know? And then they come back and yell, but there's still rubber there. We used to race on bald spots, half and half everything, so yeah, it's a little different now.
A little less challenging nowadays.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I definitely appreciate your time and opinion. Obviously, it's right from the guy who knows all these things the best, so thanks, Tommy.
No problem. Thank you.
All right, guys, we are here with Jason Rueckert of VP Racing Fuels, also known as Pooch. He started the LDR class, and he's a good friend of mine. And this guy, they have a thing called Lane Choice 7 traction compound. And you guys ran it at Bradenton, set records. You ran it here at Lights Out, set records.
Yep.
This was formulated for drag radials.
Oh, well, it's formulated for all drag racing, but what happened is when we made it in a different fashion than some of the other glues out there.
Yep.
And so it's actually lent itself to the drag radial tire. It's a more durable, more firm, so it doesn't move under that drag radial when it, you know, wants to, you know, push forward and all the momentum goes forward. And then, you know, we've got a bunch of us that go out here and we're professionals, man. And, you know,
so you've been prepping all weekend.
Yeah. Duck had me come in and all right.
So you've been prepping all weekend.
Yep.
Using all the tools of the trade. It's safe to say you guys have done a lot of testing and you know a lot about traction compounds. So today's Tech Tip Tuesday is drag radials and burnouts. A lot of guys are switching over, but a lot of guys don't know what to do and not to do with that type of tire. So tell us your opinion on it.
Well, you know, back in the day, the old burnout is you know, burn the shit out of it and run it, you know, through the starting line, big smoky John Force, you know, Al Tucci, beautiful burnout.
Yep.
You know, well, drag radials, you don't want to do that because it'll turn into a greasy pile. The longer you're in a burnout with a drag radial, it will heat it up, and the rubber that it turns into a slimier rubber, and so it actually, you want to get the tire cleaned off. But the thing with the radial is you do not burn out through the starting line. If you burn through the starting line, it's like a pizza cutter, and it cuts all the rubber up and it balls the starting line. So what you do is you start your burnout, you get it at a standard good level if you're 6,000 RPM and you keep it there, and then you burn out to the starting line and roll through.
About like 20-30 feet short or something like that.
Yeah, about a car length short, because you don't want where your car's going to launch at. You don't want that to, you know, be bald. So, and what it does, what happens is when you roll through that starting line, then you get glue on the tires. The glue helps the radial stick because you do not want that tire on rubber to rubber. You got to have glue, and you'll see guys actually go out there and do little weaves because they're going out there and grabbing the glue when they roll through the starting line, you know. And like Ron Rhodes is great at it. He does it all the time.
Yep.
So
And what you're talking about there is the shiny stuff, not the groove.
Not the groove. Now you don't the dull. And what you do then is after you back up for your burnout, you know, your tires are sticky, the track's got, you can watch it, you'll see the tire treads, you know, look real good, and you'll see like the glue, and then it disappears, and you know it's got, you know, it's about right. And then you always line your car up a little outside of the groove, the shine or the dull. You either go 50-50 off the groove, or sometimes completely out in the shiny, because you want that tire to stick. But again, if you do too much of a big, scary, hairy burnout, you're going to end up greasing up your tires, and the next thing you know, you're just going to smoke the tires. So when you do a radial burnout, you bring it up to a good even, you know, I like in my car about 6,000 RPM, and you just go right before the starting line, you jump off, you roll through to about 60 foot, bring her back, you know, get into your groove, and man, you go down there and you bust off some 390s and LDR.
So just a little bit of smoke going and then roll out.
Yep. Just a little bit, you know, the big flaming crazy hairy burnouts, so while they're cool and they're way fun to do, that's not going to get you down the track the fastest.
So obviously track conditions change. What is your recommendation on cold versus hot? I've heard Wade Rich say, all you need to do is get the dirt off your tires and then roll through some glue and back up, you know.
And technically, if you talk to Micky Thompson, it's the same type of deal.
Yep.
Once you do that first big burnout of the day or a larger burnout, you just barely need to get, the rubber is already activated, and you can talk to Tommy about this. I mean, it actually, the chemicals have changed after a first burnout, the heat cycle, all that. So what ends up happening is, once that has happened, then you can just go in and basically do a smaller burnout, but you still want to roll through and get the glue.
Yep.
So you do want to keep the same consistent procedure. Now I will say,
whether it's cold or hot?
If it's a colder track, you can definitely put a bigger burnout on because the track surface is colder.
Yep.
You want your tire and the track to be real close to the same. If it's a 100-degree track, you don't want over 100-degree tire.
Sure.
You know, things like that.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah.
If it's a 70-degree track, you know, a little hotter tire temp's not going to hurt because the track isn't gooier.
Yep.
So.
That's cool. Is there like an optimum tire temp then, you think? Or that's probably getting into the weeds?
That's into him. Like I can tell you, I always joke about like on track temp, you know, with radial prep, once it's below 90 degrees, you can kick the drum of glue over and squeegee it on. You can't screw up the track anymore. So you know, here, this track's gonna get to about 110, 115 today here at Ducks Race here in South Georgia. And it's gonna be tricky because that big body of glue that you need to get those cars, those radials down the track, is gonna soften up, be like chewy bubble gum. And so, and then once the sun goes down, you're back to hero status and you can go out there and fly.
Well, it's really good. A lot of you guys have a really consistent message, and that's don't do a huge burnout. Definitely don't do it through the line, and get some glue on the tires.
Get some glue on the tires.
Thanest. I appreciate it, Jason.
All right, brother.
So today's Tech Tip Tuesday is, how do you do a burnout with a radial? I've asked Micky Thompson, I've asked Pooch with VP. I want to get a racer's opinion. You know, a lot of guys are switching to radials these days a lot more. What is your procedure? Do you differ it between cold and hot, and what do you normally do?
Well, obviously, when the track temp's over 100, sun's on the track, we always do a shorter burnout. That's not rocket science. Always do a shorter burnout. Never do a burnout through the starting line. You risk tearing up the groove that you're about to depend on.
Yep. So
we always do a short burnout. We roll out enough to get a little glue on the tires. When it's nighttime and it's cool, then obviously you want to get the tires hotter so it'll adhere to the cool track. The main thing is that the car stays straight in the burnout. If you've got crew guys that are holding onto the wings and holding the car straight, that's fine. We don't. We're low on crew usually. So my logic is to pull through the water and stop and just ease on the pedal just to get the car to move a little before I get it up on the tire. That kind of gets it in a forward direction, you know what I mean? Momentum going forward, and just let it kind of do its thing. And you go through the starting line usually and then back up. We will usually stop the burnout probably 20 or 30 foot before the beam, and then we'll roll out about 20 or 40 foot. You know what I mean? And what that does is two things. It helps me as a driver get the car kind of straightened back up, but it also helps whoever's lining you up to see the groove and see where to put you at. You know what I mean? Kind of makes a trace for you. You know, and do you try to put, you know, your burnout in the same groove that you're trying to race on, or does it matter? Not all the time. When the track is sporty and fast, that usually is the fastest way, right back in your tracks. If the track is a little greasy, we like to do the burnout, and we like to back up and move over about a half a tire width to get in some unheated glue. If that's, you know what I mean? Something that's not had the adhesion of the tire spinning on it. Cool. So
Well, that's that, guys.
it's all science to whoever's doing it, I guess. You know what I mean?
Well, it's good to hear from a top tier racer. You know, a lot of guys are new to this, so we just wanted to kind of give them a little idea. It's different than slicks, different protocol, and you can't treat them the same. So
For sure.
thanks, Red.
All right.
So there you guys have it. A similar message by everybody. Radials don't like big burnouts. You need to adjust how much of a burnout you do based off of the weather outside. Pay attention to the track, where you drive after your burnout, and form your own routine and your own way of doing things. But at least now you have a good base knowledge of how the pros who make the tires, make the glue, and the top tier racers who do this and exceed, you know how they do it. So hopefully this arms you with some information to make your program a little better and your car a little bit faster. Guys, if you really love this content, we ask that you know, if you need some shirts or hats, jump on to motionraceworks.com and get your apparel. Until next time, we'll see you later. If you have a question, drop it in the comment section below. We love to use those for our base on our next Tech Tip Tuesday. We'll see you later.